Imagine living a life where deception is your greatest talent, where you can convince the rich and famous that you're one of them, gaining access to their wealth, their status, and their trust. What if you could walk into exclusive parties, charm Hollywood celebrities, and manipulate millionaires into handing over their fortunes, all without them ever suspecting a thing? This was the world of Christophe Rocancourt, a master con artist who climbed his way into the highest circles of power, posing as aristocrats, investors, and even a Rockefeller heir. He played the game of deception with unmatched confidence, stealing fortunes and securing his place among the elite, all while living a life of luxury. But as with all great scams, the truth eventually caught up with him. From a troubled childhood to an elaborate web of lies that stretched across continents, Rocancourt's story is one of ambition, greed, and audacity. He fooled some of the most powerful people in Hollywood, orchestrated scams that made him millions, and even after facing prison time, he attempted to turn his infamy into profit. But was he truly a criminal mastermind, or just a man who exposed the greed of those he conned? In today's video, we uncover the unbelievable story of Christophe Rocancourt, his early struggles, his most infamous cons, the celebrities he fooled, and the shocking downfall that ended his reign as one of the most notorious con artists in history. Stick around until the end to find out how he tried to rebuild his life after prison and whether he ever truly reformed. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more jaw-dropping true crime stories. Now, let's dive in. 1. A troubled childhood and a taste for deception, Christophe Rocancourt was born in 1967 in Honfleur, France, into a life of hardship and instability. His early years were anything but privileged. His mother was an alcoholic who struggled to provide for him, and his father, a violent and abusive man, abandoned the family when Rocancourt was still a child. With no stable home and no guiding hand to lead him, he was left to navigate a harsh and unforgiving world on his own. From an early age, he learned that trust was a weakness, and that survival often meant taking matters into his own hands. With his mother unable to care for him properly, Rocancourt was placed into foster homes, moving from one temporary living situation to another. These experiences shaped him in profound ways, teaching him that deception could be a powerful tool, one that could help him escape the limits of his impoverished upbringing. By the time he was a teenager, he had already begun experimenting with petty crimes. Forging documents, lying about his background, and manipulating those around him became second nature. He quickly realized that people weren't necessarily interested in the truth. They were more likely to believe in appearances. If he could craft an identity that exuded wealth, power, and confidence, he could open doors that were otherwise closed to someone from his background. Rocancourt's first scams were small but effective. He posed as an aspiring entrepreneur, tricked people into lending in money, and found ways to live far beyond his means. But he wasn't content with small-scale deception. He wanted more, much more. He was determined to escape poverty, and he saw a path to success that didn't involve hard work or playing by the rules. Instead, he would master the art of illusion. He would become whoever he needed to be to gain trust, access wealth, and secure a life of luxury. And as he grew more confident in his ability to manipulate others, his scams became bolder, more elaborate, and far more dangerous. His journey into high-stakes fraud was about to begin. 2. The art of the scam, reinventing himself as a Rockefeller. Rocancourt's greatest strength was his ability to play a role with absolute conviction. He didn't just lie, he embodied his lies, living them as though they were the truth. By the 1990s, he had left France behind and arrived in the United States, where he saw an even greater opportunity to reinvent himself. It was here that he would craft his most daring and successful con, posing as a member of the legendary Rockefeller family. Under the name Christopher Rockefeller, he claimed to be a wealthy investor with vast family connections, access to unimaginable wealth, and powerful business ventures in the works. With the Rockefeller name attached to him, few people ever questioned his authenticity. His confidence was magnetic, his charm irresistible, and his ability to sell a dream unmatched. Armed with designer suits, expensive cars, and a polished demeanor, Rocancourt inserted himself into elite social circles with ease. He understood the psychology of wealth, how people were drawn to power, status, and the illusion of exclusivity. He used this to his advantage, surrounding himself with successful entrepreneurs, actors, and high-profile investors. His scams were simple yet highly effective. He convinced wealthy individuals to hand over large sums of money, promising lucrative returns on fake investment opportunities. Some believed they were funding major real estate deals. Others thought they were backing high-profile business ventures. In reality, every dollar went straight into Rocancourt's luxurious lifestyle. From Beverly Hills mansions to five-star hotels, he lived as though he truly belonged among the rich and powerful. His reputation grew, and so did his circle of influence. As he continued to manipulate and deceive, he began rubbing shoulders with some of the biggest names in Hollywood. His ability to weave elaborate lies kept him ahead of suspicion for a while. But the more daring his scams became, the more attention he attracted. And in the world of high-stakes fraud, no con lasts forever. 3. Befriending and scamming Hollywood's elite. If there was one place perfectly suited for a man like Christophe Rocancourt, it was Hollywood. A city built on illusion, wealth, and power, it was the ultimate hunting ground for a con artist who thrived on deception. With his slick appearance, confident demeanor, and seemingly endless supply of money, Rocancourt slid effortlessly into the social circles of the rich and famous. He wasn't just another fraudster. He was a master manipulator who knew exactly how to play the part. He rubbed shoulders with A-list actors, producers, and supermodels, many of whom were drawn to his aristocratic charm and air of mystery. Among his most well-known acquaintances were actor Mickey Rourke, supermodel Naomi Campbell, and film director Jean-Claude Van Damme. Some saw him as an eccentric millionaire. Others believed he was an influential figure in the entertainment industry. But Rocancourt wasn't just interested in fame. He was after money. He took full advantage of the trust he built within Hollywood's elite, convincing high-profile individuals to invest in fake movie projects, luxury real estate deals, and fraudulent business ventures. His scams were varied and elaborate. Sometimes he forged checks to maintain his extravagant lifestyle. Other times, he promised struggling actors and producers access to major studios in exchange for hefty investment fees. His ability to sell a dream was almost supernatural. He understood that Hollywood was a place where people wanted to believe in success stories, where everyone was chasing the next big opportunity. Rocancourt weaponized that hope, turning it into a tool for his own enrichment. But with every con, the risks increased. As his scams became bolder and more widespread, whispers of suspicion started to follow him. Some of his victims began asking questions, while others started to piece together inconsistencies in his story. Slowly but surely, the cracks in his carefully constructed web of lies began to show. Even in Hollywood, where reinvention is the norm and deception is an art form, Rocancourt's luck was beginning to run out. 4. The arrest and spectacular downfall. By 2001, Christophe Rocancourt's house of cards was collapsing. After years of defrauding the wealthy and impersonating aristocrats, authorities finally caught up with him. He was arrested in Canada, living under yet another fake identity, attempting to stay ahead of law enforcement. But this time, his charm and fabricated wealth couldn't save him. Extradited to the United States, he faced multiple charges of fraud, theft, and identity deception. His arrest sent shockwaves through the elite circles he had infiltrated. Many of his victims were too embarrassed to admit they had been fooled by him, while others came forward to reveal the true extent of his scams. The trial exposed his manipulative tactics, how he promised investors high returns, convinced Hollywood insiders he was an aristocrat, and lived off stolen wealth for years. When faced with overwhelming evidence, Rocancourt pleaded guilty. His sentencing marked the end of his high-flying lifestyle, as he was given several years in prison. The media quickly labeled him the greatest conman of the century, drawing comparisons to legendary fraudsters. Books, documentaries, and interviews dissected his tactics, while experts debated whether he was a criminal mastermind or simply an opportunist preying on the greed and naivety of others. But even as he sat behind bars, one question remained. Was this truly the end of Christophe Rocancourt's schemes, or was it just another chapter in his ever-evolving con? 5. A failed redemption and more controversy after serving his prison sentence. Christophe Rocancourt did what many disgraced figures do. He tried to turn his downfall into an opportunity. He wrote a book detailing his exploits, offering readers an inside look at the mind of a master con artist. His story became the subject of interviews, documentaries, and media speculation. He painted himself as a misunderstood genius, a man who simply exposed society's obsession with wealth and exclusivity. But while Rocancourt claimed he wanted to leave his past behind, his actions told a different story. Even in the years following his release, he was often seen mingling with high society, still presenting himself as a man of influence. Some believed he had genuinely reformed. Others suspected he was just waiting for his next opportunity. Their suspicions were correct. In 2012, Rocancourt was arrested once again, this time in France, for another fraudulent scheme. He had allegedly conned a businessman out of hundreds of thousands of euros, using the same tactics that had made him infamous. His arrest reignited the debate over whether he was a criminal mastermind or simply a compulsive liar unable to resist the thrill of the con. Despite multiple imprisonments, lawsuits, and public scandals, Rocancourt remained unapologetic. He insisted that he wasn't the villain. He was simply exploiting the greed of others. In his mind, the real fools were the people who fell for it. His schemes, blinded by their own desire to be part of something exclusive. Even after his second fall from grace, Rocancourt never seemed to fully disappear. His name continued to surface in the media, his legend living on as one of the most audacious con artists in modern history. 6. The psychology of a con artist. What made Christophe Rocancourt so incredibly successful at deceiving people? It wasn't just about lying. It was about understanding human nature on a deep level. Rocancourt knew that people crave status, wealth, and exclusivity. By presenting himself as someone who had all three, he made himself irresistible to those who wanted a piece of that world. His greatest weapon was confidence. He never hesitated, never second-guessed himself. When he walked into a room, he acted like he belonged there, whether it was a billionaire's mansion or a high-profile gala. People trust those who seem certain of themselves, and Rocancourt used this to his advantage. If he told someone he was a Rockefeller or a European noble, they didn't doubt him, because he gave them no reason to. Another key to his success was social proof, the psychological principle that people believe something is true if others do too. By surrounding himself with celebrities, wealthy investors, and high society elites, he made himself seem even more legitimate. If someone doubted him, all he had to do was drop the name of a famous acquaintance, and suddenly their skepticism disappeared. Like cult leaders and master manipulators, Rocancourt knew how to gain trust quickly. He created a sense of exclusivity, making his victims feel like they were part of a rare opportunity. He used urgency to pressure people into decisions, convincing them that they needed to act fast before they missed out on a once-in-a-lifetime investment. He was a master at reading emotions, identifying vulnerabilities, and saying exactly what someone needed to hear to believe his lies. In the end, Rocancourt's scams weren't just about money. They were about controlling perception. He didn't just steal from people. He made them believe in an illusion. And in doing so, he proved that sometimes the greatest deception isn't in the lie itself, but in how much people want to believe it. 7. Rocancourt's time in prison. Did he learn anything? After his arrest and conviction, Christophe Rocancourt was sentenced to several years in a U.S. prison. But did incarceration truly reform him? By all appearances, the answer was a resounding no. Unlike many criminals who reflect on their mistakes or attempt to change, Rocancourt seemed to embrace his infamy. He never showed remorse for his actions. Instead, he saw prison as just another obstacle in his lifelong game of deception. Even behind bars, Rocancourt remained the manipulative and charismatic figure he had always been. He built relationships with both inmates and prison staff, carefully choosing his allies and using his charm to make life more comfortable. Some reports suggest that he even attempted to run small scams from inside, exploiting those around him just as he had done on the outside. Whether it was convincing other prisoners to share their resources or charming guards for favors, Rocancourt never stopped playing the role of the con artist. His time in prison did little to humble him. If anything, it gave him more time to refine his strategies. He spent hours reading, studying legal loopholes, and planning his return to the world. To Rocancourt, prison wasn't the end of his journey. It was merely a pause before his next act. When he was finally released, many expected him to disappear into a quiet, obscure life. But those who knew him best understood that Rocancourt had no intention of fading into the background. He had spent his entire life reinventing himself, and prison was just another chapter in his ever-evolving story of deception. The question was not if he would scam again, but when and how. 10. Legacy of a fraudster. Where is Rocancourt today? After serving multiple prison sentences, Christophe Rocancourt eventually faded from the public eye. But did he ever truly leave his life of deception behind? Some reports suggest that he attempted to rebuild his life away from crime, seeking a fresh start. Others, however, believe that a con artist of his caliber never truly retires, only adapts. His past notoriety has made it difficult for him to disappear completely, as the media and law enforcement continue to watch him closely. Despite his repeated arrests and legal troubles, Rocancourt has remained an enigmatic figure. While some criminals seek redemption after their downfall, he never fully expressed regret for his actions. Instead, he often portrayed himself as someone who simply exposed the greed and gullibility of the wealthy. This controversial stance has kept his name alive in discussions about fraud and deception. Today, Rocancourt's life is a cautionary tale, studied by criminologists and fraud investigators alike. His story has been the subject of books, interviews, and documentaries, serving as both a warning and a fascination. His ability to manipulate, charm, and reinvent himself remains unmatched in the world of con artistry. As to where he is now, the truth is as elusive as the man himself. Some claim he has settled into a quiet life, while others speculate that he is still finding ways to operate in the shadows. Whether or not he is still scheming, one thing is certain: Christophe Rocancourt will always be remembered as one of the greatest con artists of all time, an individual who proved that, with the right mix of confidence and deception, the world can be fooled again and again. Christophe Rocancourt's life is a testament to the power of illusion. He climbed the social ladder not through hard work or talent, but through deception, manipulation, and sheer confidence. From conning millionaires to rubbing shoulders with Hollywood's elite, he built an empire on lies, only to see it all come crashing down. But what's truly fascinating about Rocancourt isn't just the money he stole or the celebrities he fooled. It's the way he exposed human nature itself, our obsession with wealth, status, and exclusivity. He proved that people often believe what they want to believe, even when the truth is staring them in the face. Even after multiple arrests and years behind bars, Rocancourt never truly seemed to change. Whether he's still scheming in the shadows or living a quiet life, one thing is certain: his name will forever be linked to one of the most audacious frauds in history. What do you think? Was Rocancourt a criminal mastermind, or just a man who exposed society's greed? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into his story, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more jaw-dropping true crime stories. See you in the next one.